All right, everyone. Um, oops, what is the responses on part two? Um, Hopefully that was helpful with understanding kind of the basics of what responsive web design is. We're going to learn other things, but I would say responsive web design is really the most important remaining concept of web design. And obviously you can understand why it's important. We live in a world where like people can access websites from a variety of devices and such. So we want to be able to easily, you know, make that possible. So we're going to be talking about that more on Wednesday and such. So reminder, your assignment two is due tonight by midnight. So if you've not already, make sure you submit that in. If you have any questions, last minute questions, hopefully you've already emailed me, but I will be if this is the morning, I could probably have some time to write you some emails and such. You can write to me to davidhurwich@sfsu.edu. Okay. I'm pretty much out of commission from like 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock. I'm not going to lie because I have to travel to my other course or class, which is live, and I got to commute and blah blah blah. But anyway, if it's before that, you can do a quick Zoom session if you want. If you want to like meet and give me last minute questions or anything like that. All right. Now that we've talked about responsive web design, give you guys a discussion question where I just want you to like look at this in real life. Okay. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to choose a website. You can choose any website you want. I'm just going to use SF State because I'm boring. And I want you to look at it one on a desktop. And I also want you to view it on a smaller device like your phone. Okay. Now, if this particular website or brand has a app version of it, I don't want you to use the app because that's different technically. It's a different system of coding and it doesn't responsive web design techniques do not apply to apps. But what I would like you guys to do is whatever website you choose, use your Chrome or your Safari, oops, and then access that on your phone. Oops. So here I'm looking at SF State's website, both on my phone, but also this is on a desktop. And I want you to note the differences between the websites because they're probably going to be different. It may not be dramatically different. It may not be like, oh my God, they went from purple to, lime green or something. But it's probably what's realistically going to be is they're going to change the layout. Okay. Because, here I have multiple columns, one, two, three, one, two, three, four. That's usually not possible on something like this. So, if I look at this, I can go, okay, well, right off the back, this goes from three columns on my desktop to one column here, right? That's a change. Not a dramatic change, but it is a change. Note that on the phone, see how like the navigation bar here is gone and it's been replaced by this button that I can click on, and then the little drop down navigation bar appears. So, like, there are going to be situations where some content may not exist, or it may exist in a different way, where you have to access it by clicking on a button, or you know what I mean? So, that's what I mean by discussing the differences. What are the differences between the desktop version versus the mobile version? Okay. And I want you to think about this, and because I think that helps with what we're doing is thinking about, okay, what do I need to do to make my website accessible to people on a smartphone? What do people on a smartphone need that don't work for something like this, right? Because like here, it's like, too many icon, too many navigation things wouldn't work on a small device, or you'd have to make two rows, and then it's like kind of weird. So replacing it with that much better sort of like stacked vertical list is much easier. You know what I mean? And we also don't want it to take up too much real estate if we don't need it. So that's why it had that like collapsing kind of thing to take advantage of like spacing. Okay. So please work on that. Today is the 9th. This will be due on not this Friday, but the Friday after, which is the 20th. The other thing I'm going to give you guys to do is I'm just going to give you a little lab that goes over basically what we talked about today, which is taking an existing website and then making it responsive. So that means using things like rems for text and things like that, using CSS grids when possible, using media queries so that depending on the size, we can change how many columns we're using or layout or making things appear, appear or disappear basically. All right, so I've assigned this today, which is the 9th. It's not due this Friday, but it'll be due the 20th. A reminder that Wednesday is Veterans Day and state is off, so I will not be holding class live like I normally would. That being said, I didn't want to lose out on teaching you guys stuff because I love teaching and I love education. So I am assigning another uh, module. It's just going to be released tomorrow. Okay. So we're not going to have a chance to go over it this week live, but we will have time next week. So if you're having trouble, I mean, you have more than enough time by next Wednesday to work on it and ask me questions. If you have any questions, we can talk about it live before it's actually due, which is on the Friday. Okay. So just be aware, we do not have official class on Wednesday in honor of Veterans Day. Okay.